Raj, made me co-host and Dr. Namita too, please.
Please go ahead. As meeting is live stream now.
Yes, Raj made us co-host.
Yeah.
Yes, can we start?
Yes, please, Dr. Namita, you can start.
Okay. So first of all, my greetings and salutations to all who are a part of this platform. And I really want to be very thankful to our queen who has given me this opportunity to share my views on gender sensitization. So this being the first lecture in this regard, so, I will be just giving you an overview of what gender sensitization is. And then as we move on with the series, I will be talking about, all the nuances of the gender sensitization and how we can control, because this is quite a very, important issue which is hitting across the globe. So this is the time for us to understand what the genders are, what their roles are, how to stop gender stereotyping, and there are many pertinent, issues which we will be talking on. So let us start with this concept of what gender sensitization is all about. Gender sensitization, basically, it is the process of changing the behavior through increasing understanding of the gender equality issues. And this can be accomplished through the various sensitization efforts, like, this kind of a lecture, workshops, then the programs, and, when there is an open talk, when there is an open debate. So all the efforts are directed towards increasing the sensitization. So sensitization is defined as basically the awareness about informed tendency or a propensity to conduct in a particular manner that is sensitive to gender justice and equality issues in humanities and basically the social sciences. So what have we understood by this concept of gender sensitization? That is the male, female, and our transgender friends. We all have to understand about who we are, what our special needs, and how we are able to understand more each other so that the violence is less. We have an equitable step towards all the genders. We have a gender balanced world, and we have just an equity in our issues. So that's very, very important. And that can only come by conducting very special programs, by conducting, important talks in this regard. And probably if we, talk more about it, the more equitable aspects can creep in. So this was about the gender sensitization, and it definitely entails the altering of the behavior, creating a very empathetic attitude towards our own and other genders. And it also aids and helps the people in refining their personal attitudes and ideas, as well as questioning the realities they believed they knew. So when you, talk about the gender sensitization, and basically when a female is born, when a male is born, the kind of treatment which the male gets compared to what a female child gets is altogether different. So this kind of a difference as far as the male and the female upbringing is concerned, and right from the birth is concerned, there are huge gaps, and these gaps widen over a period of time. And the gender stereotyping and the gender inequality, they are deep rooted into the system. And overall, we suffer as far as the gender inequalities are concerned, the sexual harassment is concerned, then harassment at workplace is concerned. So basically, if you see the genesis part of it, the genesis is because of the stereotyping, because of the thought process, because of what we learned about, and what we knew about what the genders are. Like, for example, I will try and show a very small documentary at the end of the lecture about, which is of 9 to 10 minutes. And this, completely signifies what the gender inequality and aspects are. So, in an animated form, it tells you about how the gender inequality is widened, and how the male and the females are, they are considered as far as the gender overall equality of the society is concerned, the functioning of the society is concerned. And there we understand that we need to break the stereotypes, and we need to understand more about each other, so that, these kind of gender biases are over and we are taking a step towards a gender equal world. So this is, beautifully conceptualized the concept of gender sensitization. And if you talk about the school level, about the college level, about even the higher education, even the PhD and the research degrees, everywhere the gender sensitization topic, the gender studies are, loudly acclaimed that you should move in for a research in the area of gender sensitization. Again, these kind of steps are vital, important, pertinent to have a gender balanced world. So if you talk about Indian society in particular and a global society in general, so this is, no difference I can see as far as my knowledge is concerned, that we are, vouching and seeing and visualizing, and the trajectory of the modernization we are, seeing. But what do we see as far as the prospering of the society? We are understanding that we are moving into a artificial intelligence world. We are moving into a machine learning world. We are into Internet of Things. We are into, Industry 5.0. So because of all these modernizations, we are, having experienced as such a male and a female and a trans woman or a transgender. But still, we are having the traditional mindsets. And that's a very sad state of affairs. The traditional thinking is still prominent, and we can see the plenty of examples in which the females are discriminated against, all odds, and at home, at workplace, at, the political scenario, at the corporate level. The statistical evidences, they show that the boys in India, the boys across the globe, they are having a greater possibility of, having a treatment, that is the medical, priority, as far as the eating priority, as far as the studies priority, as far as the overall, the job opportunities priority. So everywhere we can see the patriarchy, which is spreading around in all the sectors. So this is definitely a very sad state of affairs. When a male and a female are born equally, why not these gender biases, these kind of problems, they are over, and we become more sensitive towards each other, understand our special needs, and take it forward. Because when you're sick, so it is very important that you should get a treatment irrespective of your gender. So it is very, very important, if you're studying in a college, you get the equal opportunities. This is also very, very important, irrespective of whether you are a male or a female. So understanding of these kind of concepts, like getting equal opportunity in all regards, rather than equality, we should have equity in our approach. Equality is like when you are distributing the slippers to everyone. This is equality. So males are also getting, the females are also getting, our trans friends are also getting the equal opportunity. That's one aspect, because equality is a step towards equity. But when we understand more, of the gender needs, when we understand more core of what the gender wants, and make them available, the things which are tailor-made, which are customized, so that is definitely going to bridge the gender gaps, and this is very, very important. So more than equality, we need equity in our approach. Because if we have equity in our approach, definitely the gender biases are going to be over, and they are bridged to a substantial extent. And this is very important for all of us to understand. At the same time, boys are, they, when they are born, they are made to believe that they are inherently superior. And of course, they are a superior sex compared to a female, and they are a superior sex compared to a transgender. So most of the boys and the girls, they attend the schools located with this mental baggage. When they enter the school, they will always have this kind of a feeling that the boys are superior than the girls. So when you have this kind of a mindset right from the beginning, right from the tender age, you are born and brought up with this kind of a mindset. So you can understand that as and when you grow in your life, as and when you grow with the opportunities which you are living in, so how will you be able to, compound everything, construe everything, and converge. So that is very, very important, that we have the indoctrination received at home, which is compounded by already social differentiation between the males and the females. It gives rise to the attitude in the male folk, which are far from egalitarian society. Egalitarian society is a society in which, you understand from each other's point of view. So that is definitely completely missing, because you are going to a school with a very, very polished mindset that the males are better, and that mindset, it is put in the minds of the children, whether it is a male or a female, because of the social structure, because of the social system. So that is why, this kind of an indoctrination, which is received at home, is the genesis of of all kind of problems. When you talk about the gender biases, when you talk about the imbalances, for that matter. So school and the college girls are denied, these are the actual facts I'm talking about. The girls, and when they are at the school and when they move on to the college, they are denied the mobile phones, they are denied reading the newspapers, and they are denied wearing a jeans. So all these aspects which are very, very prevalent, and they are all frowned upon. They are criticized, that why is she wearing a jeans, why she should be using a mobile, she should be denied from all the modern amenities of life because she's a girl. And because of the girl born in this world, the stereotyping role is predominant, like she has to cook, she has to take care of the children, and of course she is surrounded by all kind of clutches, all kind of restrictions as a girl child. And she has to believe in this aspect that yes, she is a lesser human. So this is a very, very sad state of affairs, and we have to understand this particular concept. And it is the time for all of us now to introspect very, very honestly and try to recognize that our failure as a family, our failure as a society, in failing to produce the citizens that view a high moral and ethical standards, and as the cornerstones of our life, as the pillars of our life. So too often and too easily we can tend to shift the responsibility of this kind of a scenario onto the schools, and we say that if we are having this kind of a mindset, this kind of an issue, so it is mainly because the schools they are not teaching to bridge the gender divide, to make them understand their specific roles. So why do we have to blame the school? It is because of the family structures, it is because of the social structures, that is this kind of a thought is inbuilt or pushed into the mind of the children at a very tender age. So they become deep, they become more deep, and they come out with such sentences that yes, I'm a boy and I'm a girl, so the girls are unequal, the girls are lesser humans. So all these kind of issues, they come in and they creep in. There is a recent survey which has highlighted the fact that when a young schoolboy were asked who should sacrifice the meal in case it fell short on the table, most replied either it is the mother as the first choice, followed by her sister. So, who is responsible for a male holding the view that the first person to sacrifice a meal that is about the health of a woman should be a mother and followed by a sister as the second choice? Why male members are served the meal first? Although these are very, very trivial issues which I'm talking about, but they are deep rooted in our systems, they are deep rooted globally, owing to which step by step, we are on to gender insensitivity, because a female also needs a food as the male needs. The female also needs the education as the male needs. So all these things, it actually divides the world. And why a female always has to sacrifice? Why the small sister has to sacrifice for her brother? Why can't a brother sacrifice for her sister? So these things, they are very easy to say, but when, a girl child has to experience through all this, so definitely these, insensitization, they are prevalent because of these small issues. So they are deep rooted in our system, which needs to be corrected. And this is the time for all of us to take a stand that there is no difference between a male, female, and the trans friends. And we would like to be in a gender balanced world. So when you talk about equality, who says boys and girls are equal? There is definitely still the deep-rooted differences between the male child and a girl child. And as the society, we have failed to encourage the thought and the debate on this vital issue on gender sensitization. A society can only be progressive if we recognize that the compromises and comprises both of male and the female members are equal. There is not an issue who plays what role. The roles can have equal relevance, and all our decisions and actions that influence our lives must be in the backdrop of gender equality. So all these things we need to be very cautious about, that whether it is a male or a female, all are equal. Whether it is a male or a female, both have to play a vital role. Both have their specific positions in the running of a family, in running of the social systems. And of course, they are on the equal continuum. They are the equal pillars of the society. So when you talk about, cutting across all these inequalities and, making the world more gender sensitive, the parents, the schools, they have to take a walk together. Both the family and the school, they play a very vital role in the child's development. So therefore, both need to come together and discuss the various issues which brings the gender parity in thought and action, and is practiced at home and school. So the school can play a very vital role in setting up the guidelines and advising the parents on the gender sensitization, as also on the various aspects of parenting, especially in the context of gender equality. Because if you talk about the school and if you talk about the parents, they both have to work hand in hand, because that is the start of the problem, that is the genesis of the problem, and that is the cause of the problem. It should be nipped in the bud, and nibbing in the bud requires a joint effort of the parents as well as the school to cut across this kind of insensitivity and make the world which is having a balanced world. We are sensitive about each other, and it is the time for call to action. So it is regrettable that after having an independent life and the life which is free from slavery, still we are experiencing the medieval thoughts. The old thoughts, they are still very, very fresh in the mind of the people across the globe. I'm not talking about a particular country. I'm talking about the world at large. So, we are still in that medieval thoughts. Though those practices, those lifestyles, they are still fresh as vegetables in our mind. And of course, when you talk about the globe, or when you talk about the world, we are still into the traditional setup. We are, still not absorbing the new culture actually, and we are still into the practices, into the practices of insensitivity, the practices of, not at all compassionate about each other. And unfortunately, this is all leading to the grave problems. And that is why there is a need for more laws for domestic violence, for, prevention and protection of women at workplace. And because of this, the child abuses are also increasing, because the male thinks that they are a superior sex and the females are an inferior sex. And with this mind thought, when they enter the school, it goes on, and it is a vicious circle, which is very, very difficult to break. So, it is the time for, because all these things are aspects, they start from the very tender age. So it is the time for the schools to take a joint action with the good parenting, with the good hand holding of the parents, wherein, these issues are nipped in the bud, and they take a walk together in terms of spreading more of sensitization, in terms of the what role the females can play, and what issues are to be highlighted at home. This kind of the education in the school, can be spread across. And of course, this is the time for us to change. And of course, a change towards a better society, a change towards a better treatment, because the females also need a good treatment. And it has actually taken years and years together for a female to come into the mainstreaming. And, still, the problem is not solved. And still the younger generation, they give unequal treatment to the female counterparts. And since the new generation is coming up, it is going to take over the world, and it is growing so fast. So these things, actually need a debate, a discussion, and these things are very, very important for all of us to understand that this is the time for us to be more sensitive about the females. And when you talk about the United Nations Convention, it was way back in the United Nations Assembly of 1979 that the right to equality was reinforced by the United Nations Convention on elimination of all forms of discrimination against the women, and we call it as CEDAW. This was adopted in the year 1979, and many countries ratified it. Some were quick ratifiers, and slowly some took 20 years, 15 years, even a decade's time, 2 decades time, 3 decades time to become the signatory of that convention. And actually the countries who signed the CEDAW, there the gender sensitization revolution actually started. And when you talk about the Indian scenario, India got, India ratified this convention in the year 1993. And this convention very, very clearly signifies that discrimination and the attacks on the women dignity violate the principles of equality of rights. So in the present lecture, that is today's lecture, I am just giving you an overview of all particular details we will be talking about. And it is going to be a very, very interesting sessions. I will be sharing all the important global aspects of the gender sensitization, that is what principles should be in place to become a gender sensitized organizations. There are some gender audits which the higher education institutes are now making it mandatory, because in the higher education institutes, if this kind of a thought is spread across that of male and a female, there is no difference. The females has all kind of facilities in terms of using of the internet, in terms of accessing to all the so this is how the gender audits are taking place, and because of the mandatory intervening of all the accreditation authorities, why can you just have a thought in mind that why these laws are coming? Like in India, we have a POSH law, that is the protection of women against the sexual harassment at workplace, protection, redressal, and it was like because of the rape of Bhavri Devi, which led to the guidelines of the women at workplace. So now all the women are very, very free to work at workplace, because if someone touches the modesty and the respect of the women, she can book that man in a POSH law, which is a women-centric law and definitely not against the males. On the similar pretext, we have many, many laws coming out across the globe. So we will be talking on the legal aspects also. We will be talking on the general guidelines also, that what specific, all the spectrum, the domains, the areas, the particular issues which are associated and linked anyway with the gender sensitivity will be discussed here on this Forum of Success World 1. So when you talk about the gender sensitivity, we need to very closely understand and respect the feelings of the other gender. That's very important, because that's a sympathy and the empathy. So when you have a sympathy and the empathy, we call it as sensitivity. So it's a very, very important equation which everyone should understand here, that gender sensitization is all about sympathy, empathy equals to gender sensitivity. We talk about so many issues, like the female has to undergo the virginity test. The males are not allowed to cry because they are males. The males should not cry. So, when they cry, it becomes an issue. So when a female is menstruating, she is considered as impure. So, all these issues are actually, hurting the women sensitivity, modesty, respect. So, these kind of gender stereotypes are have no more place in the world of today. So why we are always talking about masculinity? We are talking about tears, that tears belongs to women, masculinity belongs to males. So, this kind of an attitude is actually adding to the problem. So, the rape, the females are affected by so many issues like rape, sexual harassment, stalking, voyeurism, outraging the modesty. And this is all the issues which a female is going through. So they need to be protected. They need some special laws. They need some compassion and love. For a female, these appear to be like an imaginary world wherein all these things are absent, because since time immemorial, the females are suffering from gender inequality. So if we join hands together, all of us at school level, then college level, then higher education level, that at NGO level, at international level, like this particular platform of Success World 1, and start talking openly about it, time is not far that we will have a beautiful world where the respect, the modesty, the empathy, the sympathy is given the first priority, and there is no issue as far as the discrimination is concerned. And actually, we need to stop the discrimination against the women. And, when you talk about the equality and equity, I've already addressed earlier also. The equality and equity is a dream. So the first thing which we need to stop about, which is a step taking towards the gender sensitization, is about calling off those problems which the females are facing. That is, no rapes, no acid attacks, no sexual harassment. And if the sexual violence is controlled, if the crime rate is controlled, if the patriarchy is controlled and swapped by matriarchal society, I'm not in the favor of matriarchal society also, but no gender should feel that they are superior. So, because the females are already marginalized and, they are already vulnerable. So we all have to take steps together. We have to actually sensitize the world. We have to educate the world. We have to make some policies and programs and laws in place wherein initially the strict implementation of which can actually stop the violence and make the other gender more sensitive. Let it be a pressure of the laws. Let it be a pressure of the strategies. Let it be a pressure of mandatory compliance. Let it be a pressure of mandatory, implementation of the laws. But yes, it is required, because slowly and steadily, if you comply with those rules and regulations, those programs and laws, those strategies to bring more gender sensitization, then it will not be an effort, it will be a culture. And this is what we all strive for, that we want to convert it into a culture. The sexual violence and the harassment is considered as a major problem which is faced by a woman and a girl across the globe. The sexual violence and harassment is a crime rooted in the control and the patriarchy, including the male entitlement. So let us, my male friends, let us all understand that you should not be controlling the male counterparts, because they also want to enjoy the world. They also want to enjoy the beautiful, surroundings and environment. Why a female needs to be controlled and checked and clutched? She has her own dreams. She has her own life. So let us end patriarchy and start this revolution of ending the male patriarchy. And I strongly have this conviction and strong thoughts in my mind that if we stop controlling the female counterparts, our female friends, our female daughters, our female wives, our female friends, and saying no to patriarchy, the time is not far that we have a beautiful gender balanced world where the feelings of the other gender is respected. The female will be respected, and there will be no violence. There should not be any kind of a physical violence with the females. When you talk about the overall global societies, we often shift the blame onto the survivors and shaming a survivor and her family into silence. Do you know this fact that 90% of the criminal activities which are against the woman are not reported? Why? Because of many reasons. One, their own family members push them behind that, what will happen to your siblings? What will happen to the respect of the family? Our reputation will be maligned, and you should not be doing it, except I will try and share in the next class. There is a small film wherein a girl, she's from a poor family and the only earning member, the father is sick and the mother is a housewife. So she starts working in a corporate, and wherein, from the beginning only, the boss tried to molest her, tried to control her and sexually abuse her. So, she started crying and she started calling her mom that I'm not very happy here and my boss is, doing these activities with me. You know what the mother said? Please continue accepting this violence. Please continue accepting this abuse. Why? Because the family needs money. This is atrocious. And she kept suffering because the family needs money. So this is insensitivity, because the family needs the money, because the family needs the overall the financial flows from which the money is coming through. A girl, even if she's suffering, she has to continue working there. So, this is very, very insensitive attitude which the family extended to that girl, that poor girl. And she started accepting the violence, the sexual violence, the sexual abuse from her boss because her family wanted the money. And even the mother said, okay, please continue. Later on, because you cannot leave the job, your father is in hospital and we need money. So this was the reason given to that girl, that poor child. So, this is kind of an insensitivity which was shown as a family. So we need to break the bias in terms of the family. We have to break the bias in terms of school, in terms of higher education, in extending all kind of opportunities to the females also, to make the workplaces, to make the schools, to make the higher education institutes a gender neutral world. And the gender neutral world means what? The equal, equitable opportunities which are available to all the genders, not because of the sex, but because of the ability, because of the excellence, because of the intelligence of an individual, and make the entire campus, the corporate sector, the government sector, the political sector, the social sector as a gender neutral sector. And this is what we all need. And this is especially true among those who are already marginalized within some societies, leaving them more vulnerable to the sexual offenses and the sexual violence. So we need to take a walk together. We need to understand their needs and be more empathetic towards them. And this is what we actually strive for. So when you talk about the corruption of enforcement of the law, when you talk about failure of the police to register the violence complaint against women, this is insensitivity. Where did he touch you? What happened? Such atrocious questions are asked at the time of filing of the FIR. The continued use of a two-finger test, that is very, very controversial. Per vagina or two-finger test involves the doctor inserting the two fingers in the vagina of a rape survivor to detect if the hymen is present or not, and the vagina's size and laxity. So the doctors also check how habituated the woman who has been raped is to a sexual intercourse and her sexual history. So this is not done, and this is not fair. We should try and trust. And although I understand that these laws and these, enforcement of bringing in more gender sensitization is even being misused. But yes, there should be a machinery to control this. But these kind of sexual violence offenses, enforcement officials, corruption, two-finger vagina test, and difficulty to access those support services, which otherwise should have been very easily available for a woman. And, the pressure from the families, as I just give you an example of that girl who was being harassed by her boss, and still she was forced to continue because the family wanted the money. So the women is not very, very happy, because of the services. They are not available to her as it should be. There is not a free flow of services, and they are difficult to access also. And similarly, the pressure is coming from the families, from communities, from, if you talk about the rural sectors, the rural members, the extra legal settlements and many more. So there are so many issues which come up. And so we need more women-oriented laws, because if the sensitivity is not coming through the social system, let us enforce it by the law. So we need more trainers. We need more sensitization spreading people. We need more NGOs who can do this job and go from village to village, from a rural sector to an urban sector, and spread this kind of a sensitization. So adopt this as a passion. If we make the female understand of her issues, of her rights, she will be at least empowered. So we need to empower a woman. We need to have some more legal training for her. And, definitely the men also feel, let me talk about the men's side also. The sensitization has to come voluntarily by the male sector. And, there was a survey conducted globally in which there was a very clear-cut statement from, say, at least 30% of the males, that the sexual harassment, 30% of the men feel that there is a false complaint, and I agree to this fact that the women are also misusing the law. So the women also has to understand the pain what the males are going through. She also has to be sensitized in terms of not going in for a false complaint, because any kind of a sexual harassment complaint or insensitivity towards the gender sensitization is going to make the problem more grave. Whether it is a male or female, both have to understand and have an empathetic and a sympathetic view about each other and how they're leading the life. So 50%, 58%, I'm talking about that global survey, in which the 30% of the males think that the complaint was a false complaint, and 58% of the women who face the harassment say that not being believed is a major problem. So, we need to address this issue very, very sensitively. We have to unlearn certain things and learn the new facts that all the genders are equal. And when you talk about South Africa, we talk about Nigeria, we talk about India, we talk about Pakistan, we talk about many other countries. The statistics are very, very grave and problematic, in which it is a very clearly indicated statement that a female is harassed. A female is not taken as an equal sex. She's always in a, taking role, not a decision making role. She's not allowed to take the education. She's not allowed to go in for a technology, adoption of the technology, because if she becomes intelligent, if she becomes educated, she becomes more empowered. So the countries are such countries which I've given the examples, they are not allowing the females to be in the lead role, to get themselves educated, as it should be. And this is definitely a very, very problematic issue. So we need to be more sensitive towards the gender. And it is the process by which people are made aware of how gender plays a role in the life through their treatment of others. That is, in a beam balance, if you talk about, A should be equal to B, because equality is the first step towards equity. And if you talk about the social process, by which the men and the women are not treated equally, the treatment may arise from distinctions regarding biology, psychology, cultural norms, which are prevalent in the society. So, some of these distinctions are empirically grounded, while others appear to be socially constructed. So the studies show that different lived experiences of the gender across many domains, including the education, life expectancy, personality, interest, family, careers, and political affiliation, the gender inequality is experienced differently across different cultures, and it affects the non-binary people also. So, we need to understand, we need to be more sensitive towards each other. And the gender sensitization, basically, it is a process by which people of all genders are taught to respect everyone, irrespective of the gender, while acknowledging the differences. So this is very, very important. What is being taught in the gender, sensitization? That we must respect all the genders. This is number one. Irrespective of the gender, that is whether it is a male or a female or the trans friends, we should acknowledge the differences between them, respect the differences between them, adopt and hug and be friendly with their differences, while respecting their identity, while respecting their views. And of course, we need to be equal in terms of our treatment, in terms of our aspects. And, there are some, particular laws in place in order to protect the females against the sexual harassment and against, all kind of issues and the problems and the violence, if you talk about. So these were primarily the overview of the gender sensitization, which I wanted to discuss today. And perhaps if you talk about the rape cases, they are increasing. The gruesome issues are increasing. The enforcement of the laws is not very good in terms of adoption, in terms of the other aspects also. So it is very difficult phase for all of us to overcome this gender issues in terms of controlling the rape cases, in terms of extending the punishment more and more for the sexual harassment. Because when a female goes through all these issues, that is the sexual harassment, which can be verbal, which can be visual, and which can be anything in terms of touching her modesty and respect. So passing on the comments, loose comments, and saying that she's a very easy virtue. So this is not acceptable. Everyone has a right to live and live in a very dignified way, and the other counterpart has got no right to intervene in her dignity, in her independence, in living in a very good way. So that's all needs to be clutched, that all needs to be controlled. And the laws for the protection of sexual harassment at workplace, in the schools, like we have in India, we have a POCSO, that is protection of child against the sexual offenses. You'll be amazed to understand that the students of class 11th and 12th, they are also harassing their female friends of the same standard, that is of 11th and 12th and 10th and 9th, because they are into their own world, and they try to have a very, and they actually have this kind of feeling that the females are a submissive sex, so they can do anything about it. So all these things have to be nurtured from the childhood. And these kind of education, as far as the sex education is concerned, as far as the protection of the genders are concerned, as far as saying no to the gender stereotyping is concerned, all these have to be embedded in the syllabus, and right from their childhood. And the parenting also needs to be checked upon. The school and the parents, they can play a vital role as far as the school education is concerned. And as far as the higher education is concerned, we can all join hands together, make this kind of a syllabus mandatory for everyone to understand what gender sensitization is all about, how we can attain the gender equity and equality, and have some good practices in place, so that we enjoy a gender balanced world, and we have what we want, and equity, equality, modesty, respect, friendly, compassion. All these things will be a part of the culture. And of course, we should not be forgetting our transgender friends, because what kind of challenges where we stop, their challenges begin, because they have the identity crisis, they have the other issues, they have acceptability issues also, because the society is not ready to accept them. And when you talk about the gender sensitization, it is primarily a very important aspect for all of us to understand that the trans people are also our friends. They should also be welcome in the mainstreaming, and they should also be a part of policy formulation, policy implementation programs, having more inclusive workforce. And if we have trans people with us, they have a very important role to play. And I happen to attend some transgender conclaves, and I'm also a transgender activist. I'm doing few books for them, and I very closely understand what pain they are going through, because people are not ready to accept them. That is, the LGBTQ plus community are suffering a lot, and sensitization has to be spread across the genders, whether it is LGBTQ plus or a male or a female. We have to spread the equality all around. We have to envelop because they are the flowers of the same bouquet, and they have a right to blossom, and they have a right to survive, they have a right to life, they have a right to expression. So we need all these things together to make a gender sensitive world, for that matter. So that was all from my side. And thank you so much for the beginning of this series. And now I will be taking up a small topic and elaborate on with the global statistics to support and substantiate my talk. So thank you so much, everyone on this dais, for calling me here and listening to me very, very patiently. Thank you so much. So
thank you so much, Dr. Namita. Maybe we can take some questions from.
Yeah, sure. So I can see the chat box and start answering them. Okay. So there is a question from Sarah. So Sarah, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, she has actually talked about the scooping of the evidence. I think she's talking about a two-finger test, which I said. Sarah, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So see, when you talk about the two-finger test, this is really not done.
I just want to, if we can't, like we do test for COVID, it's a stick that goes into your nose, or whether cotton or something. Can't we use same method, a thin plastic or something, soft plastic that can penetrate into the vagina to pick this hammer or whatever it is, than a doctor using his two or her two fingers into the vagina of a rape victim? I think that will be causing more pain more harm than good. So I just don't know, but we should find another way of picking evidence.
Absolutely. This is what, and that is why it was unfair, and that is why I highlighted here in my talk that this is not the way a female should be treated. She also deserves some, good life and good thoughts and good culture around her. And, very sorry to state here, and I will actually start my initial topics substantiated with a lot of statistics from the globe, that there are some countries which allow a husband to beat their wives. Right? So can you beat it that we are living in a 21st century and the laws are allowing of such countries to beat a woman or the wife till the time she has more injuries or something? So this is like, I just cannot take the statement that how a government, how the people are allowing such acts, and in their law it is written, and if they do a sexual offenses with their wives or do domestic violence and beat their wives, it is legally allowed. How can you allow this? I think we should all raise our voice against such laws and force that government to amend that law or take back or withdraw such laws which allows a woman to be beaten by her husband legally. So this is absolutely not taken, and I was really very, very sad to listen to a discourse from a woman from that country that our husband beats us because it is legally allowed and they want us to be controlled. And what miserable life the women are leading in such countries where the laws are only not protecting them. So, if we together raise our voice in this regard, I mean, we can actually control such enactment of such laws and, force the government to have a dialogue with us and withdraw such laws. So in the next topic, I will be elaborating on one topic and do it in detail. Also talk about the United Nations documentation, also what they are doing about the gender sensitization. and about the rape, about the acid attacks, about controlling of the lives of the females in the hands of the male, and what strategies, programs needs to be in place to have a beautiful world, which is appreciated by a woman also, because she also has a right to live a good life. Yes, any other question from anyone? I'm very happy to answer.
Yes, Dr. Namita, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you think that we can really change this situation?
See, if you talk about the world at large, the situation can only be changed by laws. That is a regulatory pushes. Because as a matter of fact, we are into a patriarchal world, and wherein the males are enjoying their power, misusing their power, and enjoying their patriarchy. So if we end that patriarchy, that end can only be put by some regulatory pushes, by enactment of women-centric laws who can protect them, and they can raise their concerns, raise their voices under that particular act. Like in India, we have a very strong POSH Act. We have a very strong POXO Act if the child is being abused, or there is an insensitivity towards a girl child and the boy, under the POXO, that is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences and Protection of Women Against the Sexual Harassment Act of 2013, redressal, protection, and overall mechanism for the protection of women at workplace. And we have some guidelines. They're called as Vishakha guidelines. And there was a lady who was a social activist and wanted to control the child marriage. She was brutally gang raped, and she was abandoned by the village people. And so owing to this particular rape case in 2012, so 2013 guidelines came, and people are actually afraid of entering themselves into these kind of activities, that is making a loose statement, or talking rubbish about the private life of a woman, or making a video when she's into a private act, or harassing her, stalking her. So this sexual harassment definition has been expanded, and the domain has been large now. So what I feel, Queen, the only strategy which is available for us to change the world is to have some more laws in place. And of course, with these kind of activities like, enactment of such programs, guidelines, discussion, debate, seminars, webinars, physically talking to each other, we can spread the sensitivity, which can actually transform the people. But I'm afraid, these things are, will be catalyst in implementing such changes. But the regulatory pushes, the enactment of actual laws, which are women-centric, which are girl-centric, will actually have a difference. This is my strong conviction in this regard.
Thank you, Dr. Namita. Yes, I believe that even the victims, if we really want to change the law and reform the laws, and sometimes I can assure you that the government has nothing to do with that.
Yes.
This inequality sometimes in the government has nothing to do with that. It's a problem of society. So the victims, if they don't speak loudly, if they don't overcome their fears and speak loudly about what they are living, it would be such very difficult for us to really change the situation. So we invite everyone to denounce in order to condemn these crimes, this cruelty, this inequality, and all our daughters, sisters, and mothers who are beaten, and just in silence they continue because they have fears. They have fears of the shame, because this is true. In the tradition, they have fears of the shame to say, I am beaten by my husband, or my husband is doing that to me, or you understand. So we have really to overcome this kind of situation.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you that we can actually we can be the change makers. We can actually change the world by transforming the thoughts of the people, and which can be only brought about by discussion, debate, having an open forum wherein the people they are actually opening their hearts. So I would like to state your the last program, which was beautifully conducted by Success World One, wherein there was an open debate. So I think out of 56 or 60 speakers, I think 5 or 6 accepted on the open forum that they were harassed or they were a victim, and they actually cried, and they were very happy to share their bad experiences, so that the people learn out of that. So transforming the thoughts is a very important process, and it is a very valuable process. And I think if we are connected with such forums, we can actually, our heart is touched, and we are actually onto a new arena of a gender neutral world, where nothing is judged because you're a woman, and nothing is judged because you are trans, nothing is judged because you're male. You are a human. So we should celebrate the humanity, and we should spread the equality, equity, and transform our thoughts. And I think that's the beautiful way of gender sensitization.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. And we have started this fight of
Yes.
gender inequality in Success World One, and by making this international debate. In order for us, because I met the people from United Nations to report all that, and I need more, let's say, evidences for all that. And in order to bring and make the change in the world, so we had to go country by country. This is why we are now going to the national debate, in order to understand the misery in every country, because all countries, they are not the same, they are not facing the same problem. So this is why next week on the 20th, we are making the national debate. We will start by Nigeria, because as you know, we have one sister who was beaten till death by her husband, and that it has to really stop, because a woman has her place in this society, and we have to bring her back her dignity and her honor.
Absolutely. So I think I will make all my efforts to make a case study of Nigeria in my next lecture.
Yes, please.
Yes, of course, I will collect all the evidences and substantiate my talk for Nigeria specific lecture.
Yes, we are going to different countries. We are starting next week by Nigeria and going to different countries of the world. We invite everyone to speak loudly the truth. Stop being victims of something. If we want really to change the situation, we have to overcome our fears and say, stop, enough is enough.
Enough is enough, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful course. I hope our people here present here today enjoyed your session. And if they have anything to say, I can see my dear family from Indonesia, Prince Painope, my brother. I can see also my sister in the other side in America, Princess Christine, my, let's say my son, my daughter, Star Lady Emmanuel, Prince Izu, and my dear sister Augusta Elizabeth, who is also here, Sarah, my son Derek, and we have Chad also with us. This is very good because we have Chad, America, Indonesia, India, UK, wow, Nigeria, Ghana, they are all with us, and that it is very good. Thank you very much. If anyone wants to say something, it's now. Otherwise, we have to close this session and say, don't miss out the next session with Professor Dr. Namita every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m., 4 p.m. India time, and 12:30 France time. Yes, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Hello, greetings to everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. I want to ask, what advice can we give to a girl child who is undergoing some kind of gender abuse at home? Sometimes we have mothers or parents who influence some of the oppression and the um, situations that make girls go through, especially early marriage, uh, some situations that really affect girls and makes them cry in silence. What advice can we give to such a girl that is going to protect her at the same time? It's not going to affect her livelihood at home, whereby maybe the parents will deject her, kick her out of the house, kick her into the streets, and will start living some wayward life because one, she cannot take care of her own self, her needs, her financial needs, and all that. She cannot handle all those things all by herself. So, a girl going through abuse at home, what kind of advice can we give to that girl to know how to take care of herself?
So, excellent question you've asked, and I would love to address this particular question. When you talk about the protection of children from the sexual offenses, that is the POCSO, and we have a particular act in place in various countries wherein the child abuse is being taken care of and addressed beautifully. So I think when the if you talk about the statistics, 90% of the cases are because of this child abuse is done by the family members, and 88% of the cases are done by the father. So, this is also a very sad state of affairs. And these statistics are very grave and gruesome and very bad in terms of that when your family is only involved into a sexual harassment of the children, then what to talk about the people at large. So how we can empower a child is that we can, use the machinery of the school. This is one. That is now when you talk about the Indian curriculum, we have in class 9th and class 10th, and even at the primary level, the sensitization activities which are related to a good touch and a bad touch. And, we educate a child that what kind of a touch is allowed and what kind of a touch is a good touch and a bad touch, so that the child is able to differentiate between that. So, this is one thing which I would like to share here, that sometimes a child also does not know that he's undergoing the process of abuse. I mean, if you see some documentaries, the links of which I will specifically share here, that the child is going through a sexual harassment, and the child only does not know that this is a particular act is a sexual harassment. That after every sexual abuse, the child was given a chocolate. After every sexual abuse, the child was given a toy. So, the child was centering on those toys and those chocolates, and the child was not aware that he's being used or he's being abused. So we need to actually educate a child and use the machinery of the school, use the machinery of the mother, use the machinery of the friends, that we need to spread across these kind of moral documentaries, the animated documentaries where the child is made aware of a bad touch and a good touch, because that's the only solution. Otherwise, how will you, or give them a sex education little at the infancy stage, like when they reach class 5th and 6th, or grade 5th and 6th is the right age when the sex education should be given to them. A moral education of good touch and a bad touch can be given to them. And I think the best part is having the machinery and sensitization at the school level, at the primary level, at the secondary level, and at the senior secondary level, the school. And of course, the best machinery is the family. Not all the fathers are bad, not all the brothers are bad. So not all the friends are bad. So let us not, generalize this statement that the misuse or say abuse of the child was done by the father, or abuse of the child was done by the family. Let us not have this generalization. Let us have, let us empower the child. Let us, spread through very categorical, strategical documentaries, moral education, sex education in place, wherein it is mandatory for every school to teach the children of the primary age, of the secondary age, of the senior secondary age, that this is how the actual things are happening. And under cover we can explain and unveil so many things. So that's my advice, that we can have strategically some policies in place, some documentaries in place, some good pieces of moral education in place. Sex education is very important, so all these things together can make a difference, and make it mandatory for the children to attend and see this particular documentary film, and say an animated film which is focused on these issues. And later on, it can be a part of the academic curriculum, that they are being questioned, the children are questioned and they are marked on that. So it becomes a part of the curriculum, it becomes a culture, it becomes a thought process, it becomes the environmental issue of the entire school to hold such activities. And I think that can actually play a lot of difference, and a substantial way of transforming the child thoughts, because the children are very, very sensitive to handle. They have to be handled with care, with compassion, with love, with intelligence also, because you cannot be open to them, as we are discussing here. We cannot discuss straight away the things with them, but in a very strategic manner, in a very simple manner, so that slowly and steadily they understand what the sex is all about, what rape is all about, how the abuse is happening. If they could comprehend their what they are going through, because it is like, some pin is there and there's a constant pain. So this child abuse is not a one-day activity. Maybe the child is undergoing under such oppression and this child abuse over a long period of time. So we need to educate the child of a good touch, of a bad touch, and all these things together under one frame can actually be instrumental in controlling such activities. So that's my take. I hope your question is answered here.
Yeah, thank you. It's partly answered. I would like to use Ghana as a case. There are some single mothers here in Ghana who, because of poverty, they push their kids, or they influence their children to go into prostitution indirectly, whereby they allow them to force themselves into some young guy or some rich man, just because of the money that they are going to get in return. And parents play instrumental role in the lives of their kids. So if a single mother tells the child to go and do something, the child will not think it's bad. The child will think the mother wants them to survive. They are doing it for survival, and she wouldn't see anything wrong with it. A child like that, if she has been into that situation for a long time, how do we educate that child for her to know that the parent, what the mother is influencing her to do, is bad, is going to affect her, and practically, because I feel it's not going to be very easy to convince the child against the mother. So how do we handle situations like that? Because it's very common here in Ghana. A lot of single parents influence their kids into relationships at a very early age, just because of money.
So this is what the revolution our queen has started, that every country has a very specific problem, and we cannot have the answers. The question papers are different for different countries, and probably we need to analyze the problem and understand what the actual issues are. If the family, because of the money, is pushing their child into a prostitution, so probably we can empower the mother in terms of getting her monthly income, so that she does not push her child. And at the same time, we empower the tool and machinery of the school to educate that this is not good, this can lead to AIDS, this can lead to the health ailments. And it is not a one-time solution or a one thing which we will say and it'll be solved, because so many things are interlinked. They are they have a spillover impact of one thing on the other. Because as you said in Ghana, and I completely endorse to what you say, that the mother is only pushing the child into a prostitution because they don't have the money, they cannot make their both ends meet, they have hardly anything pressures, they are pushing their own both ends meet. So I think here the role of the government can also come in, wherein we have the employment opportunities for everyone, especially the women. We can have some self-help group started in place, like we have in India in the rural sector. They've started making their own self-help groups. They help each other, and probably these small community groups can help each other in terms of, so that the child is not pushed into such bad activities. So we need to empower the mother also here, empower the child also here, and probably give this education at both levels, at the parent level as well as at the child level. The children should be educated at school, and the mothers at some, say, social level, so that we make her understand that this is not a solution. We should ask, if we are not having the both ends meet, we should ask the government to help and support, and giving some good things to eat, or probably some sustenance levels for their lives, so that they can travel through their transitioning life, and having the smooth sailing of their life. Because of the problems of money they have, it should be solved by the state. So here the role of the state is important, role of the school is important, role of NGOs is important. There's so many things which can be done, and probably we can be change makers in your country case also. Let us analyze your country, let us understand what the basic problems are, because we cannot have the solution offhand. We need to analyze first and see what the problems are, how many people are suffering like this, how many children are pushed into a sex trade. So probably these kind of discussions, these kind of forums can really help us in weaving the solution string for you. So we need to analyze first the problem. So that's my take in this, because often solutions cannot be given by anyone for that matter, unless and until we analyze to the deepest possible extent the problems, what your country is facing, for how long it is facing, and how many people are facing. So these statistics, and and what the state is doing, what are the policies in place, how we can reform them, how we can reconstruct them, how we can rethink about some good possible strategies as a solution. So that's my take on this.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
I agree with you, Dr. Namita. And this kind of problem in Ghana is existing all over the world. You have so many parents selling their children, pushing their children.
Gender revolution needs to be in place now. This is a gender revolution.
To protect these children from their own family, their own parents.
Yes,
this is very important. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes empowering the mother of the family is not changing the situation. We have really to change the mindset of the people first, then, yeah. Thank you very much. We will take the last question from Prince Izu from Nigeria, please. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Mommy.
You're welcome, son.
Nadia Hariri. And thank you, Dr. Rajput, for your contribution. Now, I have a question, because as a counselor, I have been privileged to counsel a lot of young ladies and some young guys over here in Nigeria, and some of the things I hear really marvels me. For instance, you see a lady getting sexually molested by not the father, but by her uncle, or cousin brother, or even a blood brother getting sexually molested at a young age of 8, 9, some 6 years old. They started having sexual intercourse with these uncles, these cousins. Then this brother, some of these cousins might be their female cousin, introduce them into lesbianism and the likes. And I've also counseled young guys that were molested by people that were old enough to be their mother, which I happened to be a victim. I know what I passed through when I was a little child, how a woman, I never knew anything like about sex or anything, a woman that happened to be my caregiver, started teaching me some things. Also, I've counseled some ladies that are in schools that have sex education in practice. And what some of these their sex education teacher does is they gather them together in teaching them sex education, introducing them into lesbianism, molesting them sexually, molesting the females sexually, in the guise of teaching them sex education, open up to me, this and that, and molest these young girls. Now, these young girls too are pushed by their mothers into prostitution. And I've discovered that these young girls, they don't want to speak out. Like they are afraid because of the society we live in. Most times in Nigeria here, when they speak out like this, they get stigmatized. They live with the stigma. People talk about them. People brings up every single time what they opened up to them about, like their sexual life, their molestation, this and that. This particular person has done some weird things, this and that and that. And it is making these people to keep quiet. And it is making these people to keep quiet. Not much people are opening up. These predators, I call them sexual predators, they keep on harassing these innocent young boys, innocent young girls. Now, my question is this, Dr. Rajput, in such a situation, what would you advise such young ladies, such young guys to do when they're in an environment, in a society here, where they cannot open up to anybody because of the stigma? What would you advise it to do? Because their silence is the thing causing this repeated act. Queen Nadia followed a story of a gospel artist, musician, that is Osinachi, that was molested. Funny enough, she hid these things from people around her. Like the domestic violence she passed through, she hid it from people around her till she died. It was when she died that people started opening up. Yesterday, one of the sons gave a revelation. Like the man would tie their mother up, tell the sons to beat her up, refuse her access to the car she was given as a gift, inflicts injuries and different types of pain on her. Funny enough, this woman that he's inflicting this pain on happens to be the one even feeding him himself, because most of the money this woman gets is what she used to sustain the family. And because of the stigma, she didn't open up. Because of what the society will say, she didn't open up. And she continues suffering this that found themselves in such a situation, in such a society where their silence is being kept because of the stigma it will bring upon them. Should they open up? How will they open up if they want to open up? That is my question.
Yeah. Prince, that was really nice that you raised a question, because the children who are into this oppression from a very young age, they have a very different mindset. They start believing that they are responsible for their life, and they go through a lot of psychological depression and They think that they will not be able to come out anytime, and they have this kind of a mindset, as you said, they are not opening up with anyone. And probably some of them, they commit the suicide, and they have the suicidal tendencies as well. So the only solution is the counseling session. So because everything is about a mindset, because if a criminal is involved into a criminal set, that's also a mindset. If anyone does anything, it is all about the thoughts. So we need to transform the thoughts of the children, to empower them that it is not your fault that you are being abused, or you are being harassed, or you are being raped. It is the other person's problem. It is not your problem. So you should not be feeling ashamed of it, because the children, they start feeling ashamed of what has happened to them. So I think the counseling sessions will be actually helpful in overcoming their issues, and so that they start feeling empowered and they are out of it. The only solution is the psychological, and the say a psychiatrist session will actually help them. Otherwise, there's no way that they can come up, because they have a particular power to pull them out from the depression. So it is not everyone's, it's not a cakewalk to counsel anyone, or to do a counseling of such children who have been abused. It takes a courage, it takes a lot of effort, and you have to actually spend your fortune, your good time, to talk to them, to be at a friendly level and to talk to them. There's just nothing wrong with you, and you are not responsible for any of such act. It is because of the wrong acts of others that they are doing it, not, it is not you. So I think you need to have some kind of counseling sessions in place by a psychologist and by a psychiatrist, because the problem of some children are very, very bad. So the psychological sessions will not going to play a role. So you actually need psychiatric sessions also. So, in India, when you talk about such issues, people are not very, appreciative of going to a psychiatrist. They feel ashamed that I am not fool, I am not mad, that I'm going and having some issues. But what I've seen in the Western countries, people are very open to that, and they have no issues if they are addicted to an alcohol. So they go to alcoholic acronyms, and if you are into abuse of drugs or anything which is you're habitual to that, so you go to the people who control these kind of ailments and these kind of addictions. Going to de-addiction center, going to a psychiatrist, going to a psychologist is a very welcome step in some countries, whereas it is not a welcome step in some other countries. So what we can do is, in the countries where the problem is quite grave and gruesome, so we can have some good counselors who can do some free counseling, because poverty is also an issue. Not everyone can afford the counseling session and the psychiatrist session. They're very, very costly. So I think the government can have some free counseling sessions in the school, wherein these children can attend and transform their thoughts by the help of a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So this is my submission, that this can only be solved by the psychologist and a psychiatrist, because they are too tender for their age to understand the severity of a problem, that what they are going through and what has happened to them. So the psychologist can actually uplift their mindset, transform their thoughts, and make their life a beautiful life. Probably
Okay, thank you so much.
Can add to this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Namita. Yes, this kind of situation, every effect has a cause. And I believe that the cause of these problems in the families where a brother is raping or abusing his sister, or cousin abusing her cousin, I believe that the only cause is a lack of sexual education. Because in different countries, in different culture, all over the world, even in developed countries, the sexuality is a taboo. No one is talking to you from your young age about that. No one is telling you about anything. How precious is your body, how how the sexuality is a gift and all that. So these children, these daughters raped, they think that it's something normal. Because, and if they speak about that, they are scared of what the people, what the society will think about them. Unfortunately, most of the time, the victim is considered as guilty of that. You have been raped, you are the only responsible. And that it is because of a lack of sex education. And we have to educate our boys to respect our girls. That we have to go from there first.
Absolutely.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. We have to go. Just want to inform you that in 1 hour, we are going to another course with Dr. Kavita. And this is very important to come and to this session. Why? Because she will teach us how to know the different aspects of yourself. So it can be a good education of knowing who you are and revealing the best expression of yourself. So I invite all of you to join the next session. And I thank from the bottom of my heart our professor, Dr. Namita. She is amazing like always. And we meet her next time also. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye, and wait for you in 1 hour in the other session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Open Nadia. Bye, Dr. Ramita.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Let's do this.